Hello, everyone.
Can you hear us now?
Yes, we can now. Yeah.
Thank you. I'll repeat myself. So, welcome to Victoria County Council this afternoon, and it's our understanding that you're both with the province, and Tundi is going to do a presentation about the housing needs assessment for Victoria County. So we'd like to open it up to you, and if you would introduce the gentleman with you, and we'll proceed with your presentation. And if you wish, we'll hold questions till the end of your presentation. Is that acceptable?
Yes, I think that will work. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much, and please proceed with your presentation.
Thank you. And I believe I'm able to share my screen.
Yeah. Sure, we need to share screen.
Yes, please.
Thank you.
And can you see us okay? With our 8 councillors and the CFO are with us today, so just so you know that who your audience is.
That's good. Thank you.
You also have some members of the public in attendance as well.
All right. Thanks. That's good to know. Thank you. So thank you again to Council for having us, and from the Department of Municipal Affairs and Housing. I'm Tunde Awega, and I'm the Director of Economics and Statistics. That's with Housing. And I have my colleague here with me, Azad Aida. Azad, you can introduce yourself.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tunde. My name is Azad Haider. I'm working as a senior economist with the Department of Municipal Affairs and Housing. Thank you.
Thank you. So the needs assessment we felt was important to kind of share some of the highlights with Council, just so we understand what it's about. We know the report stemmed from the work previously done by the Affordable Housing Commission. So we did conduct an RFP for this process and selected Nordic partners to help shepherd this analysis. And then the report was eventually released in October 2023. So some of the context that I wanted to paint here is the fact that we know this isn't perfect. We know that there is secondary data collection and survey data collection in this process. And we all know that this data is always a point in time. There are some limitations in there, things can change over time, and there's always the fact that there could be economic situations that could change the trajectory of any municipality. So if a municipality doesn't have enough population today, it doesn't mean they won't have more population in the next few years. So that's kind of a context around this data. And we also hope that going forward, we will be able to engage with municipalities and ensure that we fine-tune some of this data that we used in the housing needs assessment so that we can have a much better reflection of the true local situation in every municipality. So in terms of the environment we find ourselves today, the housing market has been changing, and that has been dictated by our population growth. Population has increased about 3% in the province between the census period 2016 and 2021. And we also notice that there is a huge growth in terms of the older population that's around the 65 to 84-year-olds. And that's also expected to have grown about 18% within that period. So in 21-22, there is the fact that this population is still going to be on the rise, but not significantly. And we're also projecting that there will be a growth of about 3% between 2022 and 2027. And we also know that the provincial numbers is ticking up as well. Population is growing across the province. So the provincial housing market has a lot of factors affecting it. We've talked about population. We now have vacancy rate, which is low. And when vacancy rates are low, then there is the impact on housing availability. And we also know that there is rapid inflation. Things are costing more, and also average income isn't rising at the same pace. Incomes are not rising at the same level as the demand for housing. And we also know that even if we're trying to build as quickly as we can, the cost of materials are also expensive. Labor isn't as available as well. And so the pace of construction, as much as we might want it to really move fast, may not really move at the pace of population growth. So what are some of the local factors here in Victoria? Population, like I said earlier, is on the rise. We also have the fact that household formation is increasing. It's expected that we'll have about 5% household formation increase between 2016 and 2021. And what that means is when there are more households being formed, that means there is more housing need that we will have to address. Vacancy rate stayed at around 7%. That's not too bad. And there has been a slight decrease to about 6.21 in 2021. Again, permit rates is increasing. It's even higher than historical patterns. So part of the things that we talked about is the census data results. And from this, we were able to glean some information, and Azad would expand on some of that. Over to you, Azad.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Tunde. So in terms of census data, first we are just looking at the core housing need. So in terms of core housing need, if you look at the second row, it is for the Victoria. So total household in core housing need is almost the same ratio is 10%. So the proportion of people in core housing need, household in core housing need is 10%, as the provincial number is 10%. But core housing need is more pronounced in renter, and that is a 21% as compared to the owner, that is a 8%. So even though the due to the SUR benefit, income is increased and affordability is also increased, but in terms of Victoria, core housing need is also increased from the 2016 number. It's a 9% overall increase. So the next slide. And the next matrix is next slide. The next metric is affordability. So in terms of affordability, in 2022, 61% of all local household earn income below 81,800, the income required to purchase a median home. And the shelter costs also rising faster than the income in terms of Victoria. And median home sale prices are 244,000 and 69% increase from 2016. And if you look at this chart, a household that earn 70,000 income afford 83% of the home in 2019. But in 2022, this ratio fell to 57%. And average rent is $605 in 2021. And in terms of renter affordability, so about 90% of the local renter earning below that 36,000 that could not afford the average rental unit in the Victoria County. So in terms of engagement, so building a provincial housing need assessment is a complex task, and it requires the participation of many developed tools that can respond to the needs of residents of all the 49 municipalities across the province. So to ensure that we could hear from variety of all these life experience and needs, we apply two different main methods, survey and engagement, between June 2022 and January 2023. And this will allow us to collect the data from all quantitative and qualitative data to understand the scope of housing need assessment. So we organized 97 engagement sessions and with through focus group and workshop, and also we receive almost over 20,000 responses in the public survey, and out of them 68 responses were from the municipality of the county of Victoria. Next. So in term of engagement, what we heard from the public survey is in term of ability, 95.8% are not responding not confident finding housing if their housing situation change, and 41% respondent consider leaving their community due to the housing issue. And in term of affordability, 46% spend more than 30% of their income on housing, while 33% saw their rent or mortgage increase by $185 per month in 2021. And 74% respondents said that they live in housing in that need of major repair. So the next. So the next, first I have a census data, then engagement session, and then we have a modeling piece basically. So in terms of modeling, we use a housing demand data and housing for supply data. So in terms of housing demand, we use population, household, and dwelling price. So population, projected population is provided by Finance and Treasury Board. So based on that, we calculate the household and then total dwellings. So in terms of housing supply, we use the permanent data. If the permanent data is not available, then start and completion data to further look at how much the supply is just in any community is provided by these metrics. So in terms of projected demand for 2023 to 2027, so the current shortfall is 420 units in Victoria. So overall in province are 27,300, and in total unit required in next 5 years. So total demand will be additional to this 420 and plus additional total short will be 505 in 2027. So estimated annual pace of construction is 45 units per year. So in next 5 years, total unit supply will be 225 units. So the remaining shortfall will be in 2027 is 280 units. So if Victoria want to overcome this shortfall, so they need 55 unit additional over this 45 unit, then they will be overcome this shortfall in 2027. And in 2032, the total shortfall will be 475. So if 45 unit annually just produced, then it means 450 unit will be produced in next 10 years. So then shortfall will be only a 25 unit. But if we want the Victoria want to overcome the shortfall in 2027, then they need the additional 55 unit each years to overcome this shortfall. Thank
you, Azad. So some of the potential next steps for us in this process is to ensure that we collect the local level data, just like I mentioned earlier. We want to ensure that we engage municipalities at this point to really get the input around what some of the variables might be and what the templates might look like. We also believe that it's important at this point to ensure that we improve the data collection at that local level as a way to ensure that we have good data for future decision making. So finally, I think one of the key things we are hoping for is that we would have your feedback on whatever ways we can continue to improve the process, and also find ways of really collecting that local level data that I talked about earlier. And if there are other ideas or other comments in terms of what we could do to help you really use this tool appropriately, that's something that we're really open to. And I think that concludes our presentation this afternoon. Thanks again for having us. Then we'll take questions.
Thank you very much for your presentation, and we will open it to questions. And with Councillor Patterson from District Number 5.
Thank you, Warden. Just one question. The number of households that you show on your data there, do you have, or can we find out any idea how many people live in each household? What I'm getting at is, in my community, there are a fair number of people living alone in their house. I just wonder if you had any information about that, or maybe something we could gather in the future.
Thank you. I think that may be a bit tricky. We will have to maybe follow up if we can get you the breakdown. But the households typically will have different compositions. It might be lone individual households, it might be single family households, it might be maybe more than 2 or 3 family households. So it's usually different. So we'll see if we can get you that data on Victoria, so that you have the composition of the household. We'll check to see if that's available.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. And we're going to go next to Councillor Oregon, please, from District Number 7.
Thank you for the presentation. I have no question at this moment, but I would like to read over the data again. So if I have questions in the future, I will contact you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Longman.
No questions here either. Thank you for the information. It's it's a serious problem on the shortage of housing. But yeah, I'll read over what your presentation as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor McDonald, any question, comment?
Yes, thank you, Warden. Thank you, gentlemen, for your presentation. Roughly one time there were 7 housing units in District 8 in Northern Victoria County. Now there is only 1 in my area alone. Just wondering, with the survey, we have over 7,000 residents within the county. And was it right to say that was 68 responders?
Yes.
So is there a communication piece that might have been missing there, or like, why such a low number, do you think?
We're not sure why the number is low, but we ensure that we distribute the information through municipal offices as much as we can, and through various means in the media as well, just so that we can have a huge uptake. But unfortunately, I think that's what we received from Victoria, and it was open for like 2 months.
And these are household, not the people, basically. 68 households.
68 households.
Right. Great, thank you for that. And as the other councillor said, for housing, there's also emergency housing that's really needed badly in Victoria County. That's it. Thank you, Ward.
Thank you.
We're going to move on to Councillor McNeil, District Number 1.
Thank you, Warden. Thank you for the presentation. I'm just wondering, in your study, you indicated like 45 to 55 housing units could be completed. In the rural areas, we had problems getting contractors to do any work around. Did you look at that part in your study, like the availability of contractors to have these units being built in the area?
No, we didn't look at that. I think that's a very good insight as to what could be happening at the local level. And like I said earlier, part of the things that we're looking at for future iterations of this process is to ensure that we get more local level data that can help us kind of paint a picture of what's happening on the ground and provide some context. What you just said is a very good approach as to how we can know what's truly happening. I think we'll look forward to an opportunity to begin to have this kind of information.
Okay, thank you.
Deputy Warden Goff.
Thanks very much for the presentation. It's great to put numbers to it. I think we all knew how critical things were, but it's nice to be able to have numbers that we can use when we go after the problems and the beds for different funding. We still come back to the basics of it, though, is that infrastructure. When we talk to a number of developers and stuff, and we're mainly rural areas here, we don't have the infrastructure of water and sewage in a lot of areas, and that always comes back to us. So hopefully we can use these numbers to put it back to the province and the federal government to know how serious things are, and maybe we'll be able to get more infrastructure. Because I think we have the infrastructure, then the housing will come. The most shocking thing, I was shocked to hear that 74% of houses need repairs. And I know we're looking at doing new homes and whatnot, but I think that really highlights how critical it is that we look at the homes we presently have and the work needs to be done. I know the provincial housing does do some work on that, but I think it's maybe something we can push a little further. But great to have the numbers, and thanks very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor McLeod.
Thank you for the presentation. As my fellow councillors, they address we know that we have this crisis. Adding from Councillor McNeil about the housing is about land. We don't have land to build houses. We have protection land from the crown and crown land, so we can touch it. So we don't know how we want to build houses. We don't have the land first. So invite when they have started to just come to have a tour around the county to see the physical how bad it is, how we can to build houses, because we don't have contractors, but we don't have land. Everything's protected. So that I would like the US spring, to put it there. But thank you for the presentation.
Thank you very much. And also, we could quickly mention that there is a unit within the Department of Housing that you could reach out to that might be able to provide some information about land that's available for housing. But I don't know if there's any in Victoria, but that program unit will be able to tell you that.
Okay, I think next we're going to go to our Chief Financial Officer. Question or comment, please?
Hi, thanks for your presentation. I'm just wondering if you can comment on Victoria County's results in comparison to other municipalities, say within Cape Breton of comparable sizes.
I think that's going to be a fairly challenging task. I would say, CFO. It's all over the place. We've got municipalities of different sizes. We've got ones that are above 30,000 in terms of population. We've got others that are much lower. So it's really hard to compare, because it's almost like comparing apples to oranges, the way things are laid out. Different context, different situations. The only thing that I can say is consistent in many of our municipalities is the fact that there is an aging population. In many, there's population growth. And then we know that in some, the population trends are declining, but in others, it's growing. So it's really very diverse. It all depends on each municipality. It's so unique in its own way that it's hard to really compare. Even within regions, it's fairly challenging to compare. The consistency that we can see in it is the fact that there is need. And even the housing need is much higher in some than others. So it varies across the province.
Thank you.
Just a quick comment, if you could, in Victoria County, since COVID and post-COVID, we've had a great demand for property, and that's resulted in property values going up. Also makes it a challenge for locals to afford new homes. It also makes it a challenge for availability for rental properties, because your rental stock is decreasing because of the purchasing of homes. Some of these homes are turned into Airbnbs, so I'm sure that you've heard similar issues in different parts of this province, but those are some of the things that we're facing. It's going to be interesting to see if there'll be a downward trend as we move further away from post-COVID. We're really in a time now of unprecedented growth and development, and with growth comes challenges, and I think that's kind of reflected in your needs assessment. I had a chance to complete your survey. I thought it was a reasonably good survey. It's 68 households. It'd be nicer to get a wider range of responses, but you deal with what you get when it comes to sending out a survey. So I don't know if there's anybody from the public that has a quick question before we're good. The last thing I just want to mention that even though we're a large municipality geographic, we have a small population, and even within our own county, different communities have different housing challenges. Sometimes it's an employment issue, sometimes it's an affordability issue, and it can change just from community to community. But so with that, I want to thank you very much for the information that you provided today and the needs assessment that you sent out previously. We had a chance to look at. It's a good snapshot of where we are in this municipality and the challenges we have around housing. So thank you for providing that information today. We appreciate your time.
Thank you very much, and thanks to everyone on council. Thanks for having us this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Will that information be available online for access?
Sorry, it's available now, I think. We can get it. And I think that needs assessment is it's public, so we can get access to it. Yeah. And it's got a lot of great information in it. I did have a chance to read it. I think we had it circulated to us earlier this year.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So we're gonna move on to the next item, and I don't think Stan Johnson's here, John Newcomb, that's here on behalf of. We're here?
Yeah, we're gonna get
Do
your
that?
presentation up there for you.
So welcome, Ron. Thank you. We come to the county council, so I'm gonna turn it over to you. Our councilors' names are on their nameplates, so we don't have to introduce them. You'll be able to recognize them by their nameplates. I think I know a few of them. Have a presentation request, we'll turn it over to you, and we'll open up to questions after your comments.
Great, thank you. Well, first of all, thanks so much for giving us a few minutes on the agenda to
There we go. Okay. I know usually when you talk to Stan or myself, we're here to talk about the Brador Lakes Collaborative Environmental Planning Initiative, which, as you may or may not know, is a collaboration between all levels of government, not only here in Cape Breton, but across the province. But today we wanted to have a chance to promote this committee to you, the Pitupaq Committee. It was created years ago, and I often refer to it as very similar to CEPI in the way that it collaborates together with leaders, but it's really the leaders just strictly in Cape Breton, the community leaders that get a chance to sit at this table. So it's a fantastic opportunity for those who take the lead in the communities here in Unama'ki to discuss issues that are particularly relevant to you and collaborate on those things, as you'll no doubt know that each community probably faces very similar problems, right? So it's just going to move on here. There we go. The term Pitupaq is often used by the Mi'kmaq to refer to what we call the Brador Lakes, and it's translated from English. Roughly, it would mean flowing into oneness. So it's referring to their view of the lakes. The Mi'kmaq years ago, the way Stan describes it to me is it once was a bunch of smaller lakes, and then as sea level rose, they kind of flowed into one and became one lake. But it also kind of in a more spiritual sense, it refers to how we all kind of are connected in a way. All our communities are. But it is a unique partnership, as it says, that brings together not only First Nations communities, but all the municipalities and gives them an opportunity to collaborate on issues that they have in common. Shared goal. Sorry for interruption. Just to make sure everyone online can see that. Okay. Great, thank you. Shared goal, of course, is that we all want to see the best for the Bredor Lakes and for our communities and the people that live in the communities. And with the Mi'kmaq concept of thinking 7 generations ahead, that what we do today is going to affect our future generations as well. So Pitupaq, as it's really the issue that brought it together in the first place, was that all these community leaders recognized that sewage in the lakes was a huge problem. There was overflow from treatment plants, as it says there, discharge from recreational vehicles, inadequate sewage handling from cottages and older homes. This impacted, of course, the ecosystem, which in turn affects the people that live there. So when Pitupaq first came together, these community leaders collaborated and took action, installing pump out stations for recreational boats and commercial boats, upgrading outdated sewage plants, particularly in Waikagama, and mapping of coastlines to predict where sea level rise would have the most effect was also part of their initial work. Since that time, though, Pitupaq has been involved in other things. There was a climate change conference in Waiatmakuk in 2013, climate change community workshops in First Nations communities to gain traditional knowledge and understanding and to help in the collaborative effort, and then assisting some municipalities with their climate action plans as well. You just remove this little from there. Yeah. It's cursor. Okay. Potable water and water conservation projects, the creation of the Bolidec water rangers to clear debris in and around freshwater supply watersheds. There was a water balance project in Member 2, and then between CBRM and Member 2, a runoff diversion project as well. Dredging silt that was hampering boat navigation, that was something that took place with Environment Canada. And facilitating dialogue between Inverness County and Waiatmakuk, leading to the memorandum of understanding that they have that was more than just sewage, but all about water. Now, some of the partners, of course, that participate with these community leaders, the Unama'ki Institute of Natural Resources and CEPI, the Collaborative Environmental Planning Initiative that I'm a part of, and others that have come and gone over the years. Pitupaq has also acquired resources to expand and engage with partners depending on the projects that are necessary. And currently, the table is trying to draft a 5-year concept plan for action. We also have some current projects going on in the form of this one, Maliamu Gigmset Gogma project, or species at risk. So the plan here was to develop action plans about species at risk in Cape Breton. One of the first groups that was reached out to was private woodlot owners to help them as they were developing their forestry management plans to incorporate aspects that would protect species at risk. And it's the hope too that all municipalities and communities, as they develop development standards and things like that, that they can incorporate these thoughts into their plans. The Unama'ki Watershed Data Collection and Stakeholder Engagement Project between from March to September 2025. Now that is something that's kind of ongoing right now and really just getting off the ground. And I believe it's Environment Canada who has the funding behind that. Also, shoreline erosion is a huge problem for all the communities around the lakes, particularly in the Malagawach and Bolidec. Have they seen some tremendous devastation because of shoreline erosion? So this is another thing on the plate of the Pitupaq committee. And always too working towards a low carbon economy, I think is of interest to all the communities as well. Skipped one there, but basically the point is over the years, as maybe there was no project on the table at a time, the interest of the different community leaders kind of drifted away a little bit, and then a new project would come up, everybody would come back together again. We're at a time now where that's what we're seeing. There's some large projects like I mentioned there with Environment Canada supporting it. Another one is relates to floodline mapping that the province would like to see done, and they've put a large amount of some funding from Environment Canada into that as well. So there are some big projects on the table that affect all of the communities here in Cape Breton. And we are here really to encourage you to be a part of the conversation again, to come and join that table. So in the past, I think Councillor McNeil here has represented Victoria County in those discussions. So we'd love to have him back for that, or anyone else that you might see fit. And certainly you, Warden, are welcome to come and sit at that table as well for these discussions. Once we get everyone back together at the table, generally the committee meets once a month, the last Friday of each month, to discuss the issues, update people on progress, get input from every community. And it's not just these current projects that are going on, but of course, anything that should come up that the community might face, and they want to go to the table and say, this is what's happening with us. Is it happening to anybody else? And we collaborate on this, get some input, share resources and knowledge. And I think that it's a tremendous opportunity as well for each of the communities to get together on these things and these issues. And then when you come to the larger CEPI table, you can be all of one mind, or present one force as you bring these issues to the larger table. So it's a great opportunity that way as well. So there's contact information here, but I think all of you know how to get a hold of Stan and myself. I can leave a card as well. But now, if there's any questions at all, I'd be happy to answer them for you.
Thank you, and thank you for your presentation. We're going to open it up to questions. Anybody on this side have a question? Just put your hand up or comment. Or Councillor McNeil, please. Speak into your mic, please.
Just a comment. Involved probably 14 years, and Pitupaq was an important entity throughout the Bredor Lakes at one time. Like Ron said, it kind of slowed down the last few years since COVID, and it's good to see it coming back. It is a good collaboration between all the communities, First Nations communities, and others around the lake. And it's important, especially for projects with water, sewer, and to continue this project around the lake. So thank you, Ron, for doing this presentation.
Oh, you're welcome. I think development standards too is something that Pitupaq was able to contribute to. And I could mention as well that UINR, through one of these projects that is at the Pitupaq table, is able to transfer some of their funding on this project to cover the cost of a coordinator for the group. Currently, Stan Johnson is filling in that position just to make sure that everything keeps moving forward. I'm actually glad you brought that up because it happened after this presentation was made, but it's certainly a huge point that the Coastal Protection Act has been abandoned, yet the problem still exists, right? And now somehow it's in the hands of our humble communities to try and manage it. So obviously it's a fantastic idea or need for us to collaborate on and work together to try and solve these kind of things.
Anybody else on this side of the table? We're good. Anybody on that side of the table? CFO? Any questions?
I just wanted to thank Ron for coming, giving presentation. I have sat in on lots of your meetings, but both me and Paul were there, and I thought one of us was enough at the time. Are you still with them, Paul? Or? Yeah. So I guess after the election, you'll have to come looking for someone else.
Any questions from the public or anything online? Just, I can't tell you, as once you get up and running again, we'll recommit to having representation on the board, and just let us know when, and we'll make arrangements to provide a representative to you that we'll commit to today. And we do appreciate the work that you have done and that you're going to continue to do, because the end of the day, we all share the lake and we all want to protect it and keep it healthy. So thank you very much for your presentation today. Good to see you, sir. And
We temporarily just postponed the meetings just long enough to come around and meet all the community. So within a month or two, we'll be back. I couldn't mention more than two. Did you happen to leave a cord at the workshop in Iona last?
yes, yeah, I probably did.
It's in my car. I'll drop it off downstairs.
Yeah, I always leave something. Yes, if you would leave that here, that would be great. I appreciate it.
Very good.
So close.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mention why we're here that Ross McDonald, our municipal advisor, is in the chambers this afternoon. Welcome home as always, sir. Nice to have you, and thanks for coming to the council. Yep. We're going to move on to the next item on the council, and we have a presentation from North Highlands Nordic. Paula. So we'll roll the chairs up and we'll give them a minute to get set. And Katie Fitzgerald. Yeah. So you ready?
We're ready.
So welcome. I just want to welcome, we have with us this afternoon, we have Paula Michaelis. I hope I said that right. And we have Katie Fitzgerald, right?
Who's
So-
there? Who's there? I got worried.
So duly noted that Councillor McDonald gave the warden the wrong information. You were close. You keep digging. You'll be out soon. So welcome, and certainly looking forward to your presentation on behalf of North Highlands Nordic. I always have to look, so I say that correctly. So we're, as with most presenters, we go through the presentation, and then we'll open it up to questions or comments. Would that suffice with you? Usually around 15 minutes, 20 minutes for the presentation. So if you're ready to go, welcome, and the floor is yours.
First, before we start, I'd just like to thank council for taking their time and listening to our major concerns we have. Before I pass you on to our presentation, Katie, she's our manager at North Highlands Nordic. We are urgently seeking funding for a new groomer, which this last week, well, we've been babying it for most of the season, but this last week we had a major breakdown. And now we are in dire need of having a new machine and hopefully getting it by next season. If not, it looks very grim for us.
Yeah, and with that, I know we had that brief conversation and you let me know about that. And I'm sure if you haven't already, I would encourage you to visit our website and look at the grant processes that are there they're open till the end of the month, which is only Thursday or Friday of this week. So
Yes, we
if
will.
you are looking for some financial
Yes.
consideration, then proceed with the grant
We're-
process.
We are in the process of that.
I'll bet you are, yes.
I will pass you on to Ms. Katie.
So that's why we have such a big group with us today, because we had to close a little earlier than usually scheduled. So everyone was able to come and support us today, including our 2 volunteer groomers. So I'm Katie, and I'm the manager at North Highlands Nordic. And we are very proud of the fact that we are a nonprofit organization that successfully operates in the dead of winter in Victoria County, and that we're contributing to the economy by creating a unique multi-day experience for travelers who are spending time and money on food, fuel, accommodations, and therefore contributing to the tax base in Victoria County. And we are here requesting funding assistance towards the cost of a new groomer. And the current machine is 22 years old, and it has been becoming increasingly more expensive, difficult and time consuming to maintain. Sourcing parts, the increasing cost of parts and shipping, and finding mechanics who are trained to handle this type of specialized machinery is very taxing on our volunteers. For our long-term sustainability, we are hoping to purchase a new, it's a long name, it's called a 2024 Piston Bully 100 Euro Stage 5 groomer. And this is a necessity for us. And what would a new machine like this mean to our facility? We will be able to continue to have the expertly groomed, high caliber trails that our visitors have come to expect of us, and it will allow them to continue having enjoyable experiences. A new machine will mean higher fuel efficiency. We're very mindful of our carbon footprint, and the groomer will be more environmentally friendly as it runs at a lower temperature. It's a stage 5 in Europe and a tier 4 in Canada, and that has lower emissions, lower CO2 and nitrous oxide. We would have less unexpected breakdowns, more easily sourced parts, and this machine will run remote diagnostics. It's also quieter, so there'll be less sound pollution, and it's a faster machine, so the trails can be groomed more quickly, which means expanding our hours a little bit to allow for more skiing. And our volunteers can focus on other efforts beyond fundraising for repair costs, and then we can dedicate more time to developing programs and special events, coach development, and more. So, in case you didn't already know, the municipality of Victoria County has already invested in NHN every year to help us grow as we've relocated and built our new building on the new site. Over the last 4 years, you've invested $50,000 into our Nordic Center and Cafe. By supporting our current funding request for this groomer, you are ensuring that your $50,000 will continue to make a return on your initial investment. And thanks to your past investments, we have an indoor heated garage, and this allows for safe storage and much easier maintenance of the grooming equipment because it's in much better shape. So to push that urgency, our volunteer technicians have confirmed we cannot go forward into 2025 without a new machine. And it's not in the best interest of NHN to dole out any more of our resources to putting any more funding back into the current machine. It's just not, it's not fiscally responsible. And the last several years of active community engagement and the future we are growing towards is in jeopardy without a new machine. So we know that with your support, without your support, this would impact all of the growth we've worked tirelessly to achieve thus far. We are the only Nordic facility, we are the first Nordic facility to open and the last to close every year in the Maritimes, although this year we did have to close a bit early. We are very lucky to have consistent snow. We're open daily from January 2nd to the end of March or early April. And we're excited to boast about this because our snow, boast about our snow, because we have a unique microclimate where we enjoy something called ocean effect snow. So even with the concerns about global warming, the pack ice, if it's not coming in consistently, we're getting more moisture in our air, which creates more snowfall in the Cape North area. So it's actually better for our skiing, oddly enough. We are excited to let you know that we've had just under 3,000 people attend our trails this year. We've had just about 3,000 visitors. And I'd like to list some of our achievements that we've had this season, and I feel this is what makes us awesome. We partner with schools. We've brought 9 different grades from grades 3 to 11 on trips to our ski trails this year from NDA Shetticamp, North Highlands Elementary, and Cabot Education Center. We have 20 youths enrolled in our weekly Jackrabbits, Bunny Rabbits, and Track Attack programs every Saturday. We host, every year we host an open house, and we are thrilled to offer free rentals, free trail passes, and free food for everyone who attends the open house. We've also created a new community outreach program with funding assistance through the Active Community Fund. It's called the Family Fun Hour. And for 1 hour every Saturday, running from January the 6th until March 23rd, we have free rentals and free equipment for anyone who would like to try skiing or try skiing again for an hour. And it's been received very well. We have a large stock of rental equipment for all ages, and we're thrilled to have had an influx of some new rental equipment thanks to a grant that we had through the the ACF. We've hosted a Hub Cycle Sports from Truro. They had a pop-up shop offering really great discounts on new equipment for locals. We have a weekly Tuesday tea and ski program for seniors. It's open to all guests with reduced rates and a welcoming atmosphere to bring more people out and to enjoy the community atmosphere. We've hosted 17 events in the Nordic Cafe this year. We were very happy to have some success there. We had weekly breakfast every Saturday, and it encouraged so many people to come out and enjoy time together with the community. And of course, it always adds to our ongoing efforts. We hosted a Cape Breton Regional Library workshop, and we have the only washrooms open in the winter between Neils Harbor and Shetticamp. And not everyone realizes that, but we're open 9:30 to 5 every day. And we do have a lot of pop-ins looking for some emergency relief. We hosted a Moonlight Snowshoe. And what's wonderful about those is that we have zero light pollution. So people can go out and stargaze and moongaze together, and it's really lovely. We hosted 3 pop-up Cape Breton Regional Mobile Library events, bringing another service to our community. And throughout March break, from the 8th to the 17th, we hosted International Women's Day Community Celebration, our world famous cookie race for preschoolers. We have an annual ski loppet, costume day with pizza lunch, barbecue hot dog day, a snowshoe loppet, and our cross-country ski ambassador for Cape Breton, Michelle Richards, works with Cross Country Nova Scotia, and she facilitated 4 free lessons scheduled for all ages and abilities with free for them to do that. And we have always been in the rotation in the Maritimes to host provincial events. We hosted the provincial championships last year, and we're looking forward to hosting again in the near future. Every year we are growing thanks to word of mouth. We have daily updates on our website and our social media profiles, and Cross Country Nova Scotia has a fantastic social media presence, and they are incredibly supportive. They share our posts and add things for us every day. North Highlands Nordic employs a full-time and a part-time employee to run the Nordic Centre 7 days a week. We are able to dedicate part of our time to utilize social media consistently. It's been an advertising focus for the past 2 years, and it's working. We've had more attendance this year due to live posts than we have in the past. It's very exciting. We have over 2,000 followers on Facebook, and that is growing. We've had over 30,000 accounts reached and 13,000 engagements over the last 28 days. And we're growing our Instagram following as well. And we feel that the way by advertising through social media, we're not wasting resources separately. So we can use the staff who's already getting paid to do that, freeing up more resources for expansion. We're also happy to be able to track the different areas and age groups that are following us so that we can better focus the advertising. Our highest audience is age 35 to 44, and the next highest group is 25 to 34. And 67% of that are female. And we've had a lot of women getaway weekends, so it's fun to know that it is working. We partner with 3 local accommodation providers to offer ski and stay packages. This has led to 4 photo shoots on site on our trails with social media influencers who work directly with Destination Cape Breton. They're creating content, highlighting winter getaways, active lifestyles, and the sweeping natural beauty of mountains meeting ocean that our facility in Victoria County is known for. Our focus next season is to expand those package options and start including more accommodations to know how it's going to benefit them and benefit us and our whole community. We are integral to the economic sustainability of Victoria County and the future expansion of winter tourism in the Highlands. The very first travelers this year came the first weekend we opened from New Brunswick. They participated in the ski and stay package with Highlands Hostel. They skied 4 days in a row, and they came to us because we were the only facility open with skiable snow at that time. I'm going to read off a list of all the different visitors we've had, where they've come from this year. It's long. Japan, Australia, Toronto, Washington, D.C., New Brunswick, Antigonish, Shattuck-Camp, Eskasoni, Lunenburg, Bridgewater, Christmas Island, Halifax, Sydney, North Sydney, Port Hawkesbury, Sydney River, Glace Bay, New Waterford, Margaree, Bedeck, Guysborough, Newfoundland, Howe Centre, Big Verdure, Craignish, Lake Ainslie, Dartmouth, Inverness, Middle River, France, Neils Harbour, Ingonish, Cape North, Aspy Bay, Bay St. Lawrence, Wreck Cove, Meat Cove, South Harbour, Dingwall, Waikogama, Belgium, Timberley, Little Verdure, Waverley, Mabu, Seaforth, Wolfville, Hantsport, Windsor, Nova Scotia, New Glasgow, Quebec, Montreal, and other areas of Ontario. We know that our visitors are contributing to the economy. They're staying at the Highlands Hostel, Maple Ridge Cabins, Naughty Pine Cottages, Airbnbs in Ingonish and South Harbour, the Celtic Lodge, the Dancing Moose, Cabot Shores, Wreck Cove Wilderness Cabins, Shattuck-Camp area, Little Brook Cottages, and the Sedona Retreat. They are shopping at all of the local grocery stores. They're purchasing gas at the service stations. They're eating our food at the Nordic Center. We are really happy to know that we are supporting all of our communities. And we know how much people need to connect to nature. So we are offering so much for mental health and physical health. They're equally important, and we're able to do both by providing excellent trails that are easy for anyone to use at any age, and having that social connection is so important. We hosted a resident from the Highland Vision Small Option Home this year for his very first snowshoe experience, and we look forward to extending that into next season and developing more programs for those individuals. We also have a member of the Bay St. Lawrence community who is now living at L'Arche, but still comes home for visits and always comes in to say hello. We have a stack of puzzles and games and lots of cozy tables and chairs for everyone to just relax and enjoy. A lot of people like to come for the social aspect only. So we know we're the hub of activity in the Highlands, and we offer such a wholesome and inclusive environment. Everyone is welcome and everyone is treated like family. The expression "love where you live" is true, and I love where I work. I love where I live. I love the people I work for and the people I work with, and I spend more time hugging people at work than I care to admit, but it's very true. North Highlands Nordic is so special. Our volunteers have proven over the nearly 4 decades that we've been established that we are here to stay, and that everything we do exceptionally well. For example, after 3 years of expansions, our facility is currently debt-free. We've had a lot of work and volunteer labor over the last 3 years to make that happen. I would like to thank you so much for your time today. And in advance, I'd like to thank you for your generous support of our new groomer. And I do have a little package for each of you. These are all the collected letters of support that have come in to date. And the words are beautiful. They said more in these letters than I was able to share here. And I hope you take time and enjoy reading them all. Okay. You have any questions for me?
And we're going to open it to questions or comments. And thank you very much for your very detailed report.
Thank you.
It just speaks to how active you are and how successful you've been. So, and we're also pleased to hear, it's nice to hear that we've invested wisely with public money.
We already, without financial details, we know that we are getting support from MCOA for this.
Great. So, and the numbers will appear on the grant that
That is
you.
correct.
Yeah.
But we
So
can answer questions now if you like.
Okay, we're going to open it up. Are there any questions on this side of the table? So I'll start with, since you have your hand up first, we'll let you go first.
Thank you. We recently had a council meeting last year at your facility. So Katie, you left out one of the most significant contributions you made. You had the best crab sandwiches I've ever made in my life. I still remember them. Anyway, I recently saw a part of the World Para Nordic skiing in Prince George, British Columbia, and they attracted teams from all over the world. And believe it or not, the largest contingent was from the Ukraine, which is 30 some people, you know, it's amazing to think about. But they followed through how they accomplished getting these events and so on. And you sort of alluded to people with disabilities or para athletes or whatever. So do you have programs, I guess, or? Yeah.
I was speaking with Chris Woodford this year, and he's given me a very good start for research and moving forward. One of our washrooms is currently an accessible washroom. We need to modify the entrance of our building to make that accessible as well before we properly advertise. And we are hoping to find some adaptable equipment or funding towards that to make our trails available to everyone.
Sorry, can I just add something to that? The Nova Scotia cross-country ski team that does train at our facility does have some Paralympic athletes.
Yes. Emma Archibald has competed at an international level.
So she's been in our facility.
Adaptive equipment. They have a biathlon for sight impaired people. And the way it works, the gun will give a certain tone, and when it's pointed at the target, they can participate. So it's like everybody can participate. There's no boundaries really. Yeah, you know. So, and it was really interesting to see that and how they developed to hosting a world championship or World Cup or whatever it was. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Jackie, you're good. So you want Jackie and then you, Barb, please.
Thank you, ladies, for the great presentation. I know the great work you do down north. By looking at these people, I mean, we've seen these ones are a lot. I have a granddaughter that's in Jackrabbit. She just she loves it. She wants, you know, she doesn't get out of bed too much for anything, but anyway, she really amazing facility, programs, and kudos to your volunteers. I wish other community organizations had great volunteers like you guys did. I'm behind you 100%. I'm looking forward to reading the letters, and
you'll be amazed by them.
And yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
Jackie, Barb.
I just wanted to say thanks for the great presentation, and I love your spots. I've been up there several times, not as much as I'd like to, but it's a fantastic spot, and like it is great for your mental and physical health, and I've always felt really welcome when I go there, and I wish you all the best.
Yeah. Councillor McLeod or Deputy Warden, anybody?
Thank you for the presentation. It's very nice to see the support that you have behind. We don't see it too often. I'm very moved about all the volunteers because that is a key for a success project. And I never be there. Situations happen, I couldn't go there, but I will try this year, and I hear that it's fantastic, and I'm glad to see the evolution since I'm here in this table to see how you guys grow, and congratulations. You have a very good project, and especially, you know, for the community, for everybody and the world, and just looking forward to see your application, and good luck.
Thank you.
Well, I don't know if anyone else here gets as excited as me about groomers, probably a couple of you guys, but groomers are something I'm very familiar with and know how critical they are to your operation. Basically, without it, you don't have an operation. And I know the work that's gone into it over the years to keep that unit running. To think that you had it for 22 years and you kept it running is amazing. congratulations to you guys for doing that. They're not an easy piece of equipment to keep going, so I know where you're coming from. You also didn't mention that you have world-class athletes that have come out of there also, that have started there, so.
We should have started there.
Yeah, some great skiers and, but yeah, exactly, Daniel for sure. But the first picture he had up with the kids, I think that says it all. That's what to me it's about, is getting those kids out and getting them going, and it's something that we can't offer anywhere else. Been with Ski Cave Smoky for years, and it was always amazing when they had a family come from Halifax, and 2 or 3 ski downhill, alpine, 2 or 3 or 1 go cross country. So such a great combination too.
So close together.
Exactly, so close together. And now with the Celtic Lodge with accommodations, the snowmobiling in the Highlands, the cross country and the downhill, we're finally taking off as a winter tourism destination. And that goes out to you guys. I mean, without the volunteers, it never would happen. So I get emotional when I talk. I can't say how much I appreciate what you guys do. And
we appreciated your help last year.
No problem.
You donated his skidoo when our groomer stopped functioning properly, and we were able to use that to drag an old-fashioned track setter, and he loaned it to us indefinitely until the end of the season.
It was a lot safer in your hands than in mine. Let's put it the only concern I have, I know the time frame it takes to order and get one delivered. I don't know if you've looked into that yet, but it's quite crucial. Trouble is our budget talks are coming up, so I don't know for now if we could give you a letter of support stating that we, I'd like to make a motion that we'll do something financially. We can't decide on an amount until we get to that point, but I think I'd like to make a motion that we provide a letter of support at this time with amount to be determined at a later date, contingent on the funding being received from CAO and hopefully the province also. So it's all good, but at least that will show that we're definitely interested in it. But I'd like to make that a motion if I could.
We heard the motion, and so that's for a letter of support and it be deferred to budget.
Talks, yes.
Yes. That's seconded by Councillor McDonald. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion's carried. Well said, well put.
Keep up the good work. Love it. Thanks, guys.
Councillor McNeil, any comments?
The new upgrade.
They kind of look the same age to me.
Oh, that was nice.
Yeah.
And this is my coworker Celine. And a lot of the beautiful photographs you saw, she took. She's our staff photographer. And this is Michelle Richards, the cross-country ski ambassador.
That was up here.
And Linda Murray.
In Cape Breton, my role as the Cape Breton Ski Ambassador. We've logged this role in for a minimum of 4 years. So we will be growing this into ski to Paris skiing. They're actually sending me to Alberta next month for a Paris skiing conference. And so with some of that training, we will start developing more programming.
And I just want to say too, you have great ambassadors here on the council too. Councillor Donald, Councillor Donald, Councillor. Every time they come to council, I swear they talk about it.
Oh, thank you.
So good luck with.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Warden. Thank you, ladies, for a great presentation, and thank everybody for coming up from. I always used to find it funny when, as Jackie said, down north, and she's only Neils Harbor. Just with the largest trail system in the province, and so the groomer is 22 years old, and the importance that the facility has shown and continues to show, right back to over 40 years in operation. Yeah. I think it's very fitting that we mention the past president, Miss Linda Murray, there in the back, who dedicated her life basically to this.
We most definitely have.
And as Deputy said, make sure you get your grant application in.
Yes, it will be.
You'll have my support 150%. Thank you so much for coming up.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for your time. Oh, sorry.
But I did want to take a moment to acknowledge some of the points I think that people had the department. This group has been from the volunteers, also in the volunteers have been significant. The ability for them to build that building and put it together in the way that they did is exceptional, and I have all the confidence in the world for their support from the community to be able to fundraise the initiatives that they need to. They've shown it the movement time to time get from all of the support of the tourism side. As you guys know, we embarked on the tourism best practice missions. We've embarked on an accelerated market readiness with reporters and Cape Breton around Cabin Trail. And not only the winter tourism product, but the Cabin Trail in general, with the 100th anniversary coming up. They are a key anchor for a lot of those initiatives. For the winter tourism product, it's strong and exceptional. And it needs to be an anchor there for us to continue to drive, I think, and to grow that industry. We heard from the industry this morning in a meeting I was on, saying that with those an anchor to draw on, the individual operators don't have the region open and continue to go forward. So I think we owe it to that. Chris Woodward also we calibrated with the Special Olympics, that's about Fraser point. On behalf of the partnership with Destination Big Red and CBRM to look at future potentials of whether we can apply with their Special Olympics. And we were brought to a funding system, we are the mix that we offer activity. And then finally, I think it's important to identify with our involvement in trails, we've got a lot of focus on movers and we've had a lot of applications for snowmobile clubs and movers. But we have to recognize snowmobile clubs get money from the government for them. When you license an ATV and a snowmobile, that comes taking into funds for that for sands to be able to give her so many kilometers back of trails moving. We're about Nordic doesn't get that funding from the government as a trail moving percentage based back. So their operating costs will be significantly more than the average snowmobile club in terms of operating. Just wanted to clarify those points and that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we wrap it up. I've been here like many times. Wonderful facility, great for us. I kind of look at it and never disappointed when you that's the experience. I want to thank you very much for the focus and change. Actually, putting on to us working this building. All around the traveling. Use that, we can take a break and we can move.
I didn't.
So we're going to reconvene council. The next item is a dog park report, and Dan Coffin is going to provide information and background on that. So Dan, we'll turn it over to you, please. So we could hand you another speaker if that.
Seems to be something with me and microphones these days.
All right, we're ready to roll. Go ahead, Dan, please.
Thank you. I apologize for not delivering this on March 11th as originally planned. I had microphone issues on my computer that day, so here we are today. So I will try to, I know you've had a copy of the report sent out as well. There will be a more detailed written report. Colleen's been off sick, and when she's back, she'll finalize that written report as well. But without further ado, there we go. So in late 2023, there was a request by council for us to look into a dog park, potential off-leash dog park. We did explore numerous parks within Nova Scotia. We went out to many of the municipalities and basically sought a request to work with us and answer some questions based on a review process that we put in with a number of questions. We had 4 main dog parks that we were both able to provide the information we were looking for and also responsive and willing to have the time and resources to be able to work with us to get this information. Through the reviews and discussions, we've came across a lot of other information that kind of led to, if we're going to go through a process of investigating a dog park, kind of what are the best practices, and a lot of information gleaned from those municipalities that did things wrong through their process as well. So we were able to build a couple of best practices around design, management, and location of dog parks. So when we look at what an actual dog park is, it's typically a fenced-in public area, usually for off-leash play for dogs, provides opportunities for socialization amongst owners as well as dogs. Obvious community benefits in dog ownership, responsible dog ownership, exercise, and an outlet for owners to socialize, as well as public health and safety for that aspect of outdoor mental health as well. Some of the examples of Nova Scotia dog parks, we've got a partnership model, which is basically created and maintained by a society and with financial support from a municipality. Municipally owned and operated parks, as well as society owned and operated parks. The ones we had looked at would be from Amherst, Annapolis Royal, Bridgewater, and Kentville. And we've kind of got a little synopsis on each one of them here. When we look at Amherst, it's on town-owned land. It's a 1.1 acre fenced-in green space, mix of green space and trees, maintained and managed by the town of Amherst itself, and it cost roughly $30,000 to build. In 2016, they had a master plan which identified the desire for the community desire for a dog park. And in 2016, 2017, and 2018, they instituted public engagement sessions around the discussion of how to start that process. The Recreation Department is what led the initiative. And in 2018, they opened a pilot project died again. I don't know how long that was dead, so I don't know who missed what, but. In Kentville, we have a partnership between the town of Kentville and the town of New Minas. This was an interesting scenario where both towns were actually looking for a solution separately, and one didn't have land, and one had reached out to say, we don't have land, what can we work together on? So they identified a piece of land in Kentville that owned the space, and the town of New Minas actually operates the space. So the town of Kentville maintains and offered the space up, and the town of New Minas recreation team is the ones that maintain and operate it, or operate it, not physically maintain it. It is, again, a mix of green space and paths and trees, and it was about $103,000 to build that product. It's established through a group of local dog enthusiasts who started the project through the town of New Minas, and it was, again, continuous lobbying efforts over years that got to that point, including a Facebook community page to draw advocacy for the project. Costs to build were higher than anticipated, and that had opened in 2021. So in the process, as I mentioned, there's a lot of best practices to go along with that. I actually changed the stuff so it will come up easier, but I'm not going to go through each and every one of them, but it really gives, when we get into looking at the placement of a dog park, it really gets into a lot of things to consider. So the size of the park is important. The buffer from residential areas has become, that was an area that was highlighted in almost every example, is the connection to residences and how close or far. There's a lot of, I think we'd all understand that. There'll be a lot of opinions when it comes to that type of a product in a neighborhood area. Protecting natural elements is another area. So, you know, we got to be cautious of any wildlife or small animals that are in those areas. Dogs would love to chase those, and it could be, if it's an environmental sensitive issue, we'd have to be concerned of that as well. Water source, shade is also key elements of building a dog park. Obviously, that's what makes it safe for the animals as well. And then geographic distribution as to where it would be located within a certain municipality boundaries so that your greatest population base could utilize it. For the design itself, there's a number of things around fencing, the perimeters, so having plantings around the perimeters so it does buffer that noise as well. Entrance design is really key with the parks, having a corral so that it's not just a one gate, so that it allows you to take the dog off the leash and allows a safe access and egress, and also mitigates, that's the cluster point of dogs coming in and out. So that's where, and when dogs are on leashes, they can be pretty sensitive as well. So surfacing of the area and the size of the dogs is also important. A lot of them indicated having a separate space for small dogs was key because most dog owners that have small dogs won't use dog parks unless they have a dedicated space for fear of having their animals hurt. Available trash containers, site furniture, shade again. You can get into more lofty things like agility training equipment and that sort of things, but I think for our purposes that wouldn't be something we'd ever look to at this stage. And then ease of maintenance as well. And then for managing the site, we get into looking at staffing, obviously maintenance between grass, waste, gates, and monitoring. Fines is another consideration for management. Obviously, people that don't obey the rules and that cause damage would have to be dealt with in a certain way. Entry fees tend to range between $35 to $40 per year for access into these, and some municipalities that are parks that are run by the town would also assign that as part of your licensing. So if you buy a license, you pay for the license and the park pass at the same time. Key fobs are often used as for safety and increased revenue possibilities as well. Hours of operation, dawn till dusk tends to be the common. So obviously you don't want people there at night, which mitigates some of your neighborhood issues if necessary. Licensing, rules around what's accepted at the site, turf maintenance, and volunteers and education programs to properly manage dog owners as well. So recommendations for next steps, I guess. One of the other considerations we look at is basically the fact that currently in Victoria County, we have issued about 30 dog licenses. So I have 2 dogs. I would hope everyone else is registered dog owners. But I would say that there's probably a good opportunity that there's a lot of dogs not registered as well. But again, so it's hard to gather that. So I guess the real consideration comes down to at what point there's some use for visitors, some use for residents as well. So I guess in in the understanding, if we were to go forward with looking at a dog park, these would be the recommended next steps. It'd be work to evaluate the public desire for the park, take a 3-phased approach to evaluating community desire and impact, establish a detailed approach towards the budget proposal and budget that council would then approve, and then complete a build and management plan around that as well. From there, we'd search out possible partnerships. I think whether it's community groups or possible businesses that may be interested in partnering on such a project, and then establishing a secure location based around what the public desire warrants. So if there's a group in one area versus another that's more interested, then we could follow that trend in that capacity. Conduct community public consultation. Obviously, there may be a group that wants it in one area, but we'd have to have some consultation with the other residents of that area going forward as well for the site selection. And then following best practices that we noted in the previous slides to avoid any challenges that were experienced in the other locations. It all really begs the question around, like, when I look at that process, that's really the same process we follow for community development and placemaking initiatives. We currently don't tend to look at parks as something that we're in the business of, and it's not really been something identified heavily in strategic priorities. So I guess it comes back to looking at, where are we with parks and how much of a role do we want to play going forward? Certainly feel there's a lot of opportunities for not just about dog park, but municipal green space or municipal park of some sort in placemaking projects has been pretty active in getting some of those happening in Ingonish and hopefully coming up in Pitupaq as well. So there's a couple of different approaches we could take to this, but just wanted to gather this information and put this forth to see where we go from here as what you guys would like to see next.
Thank you very much. Lots of information to look at. And are there any questions for Dan in this regard to Councillor McDonald?
Yes, lots of good information, Dan. Thank you for that. I had the opportunity to read it yesterday at work, and my partner that I work with actually just moved from Amherst.
Interesting.
Spoke of the park there, and he said it was a phenomenal place. He has 2 large breed dogs, and he said he wouldn't know what to do without it in his area.
Yep.
And he's actually living in CBRM now and travels north to work. But are there any places or municipalities that do not have them other than Victoria County? Do you know?
Well, you didn't get a response back on everybody that had them. We were asking specific information. So some people, in our network, if you ask too many questions, some people just won't respond. So I didn't find out how many have them and how many don't. Certainly CBRM has a number of them as well, but we weren't able to glean the information out of their projects that we needed for. Yeah.
Great. Lots of information. Thank you.
No problem.
Anybody else? Councillor McLeod?
Thank you, Dan. I'm very interested in that. Anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think Antigonish have one park there too. And I think one of the why I asked for this was because the tourism, the tourist comes and they bring a pet, so they want to just give it some exercise. So I think it's a excellent idea, either just for the residents and for the tourist people, because it's attraction for us too. They can stay, right? I just want to acknowledge, because maybe we'll have some controversy about why a dog park and not a green space. And Pitupaq is a couple of years now, they asking for a park and green space. So I just want to acknowledge we have the lack of the green space for children as well, but we're having conversations with the village regarding a green space, and it's in the works. So the village will be leading the green space as now, in my knowledge, for a space. So I think it's the next steps. Do you would like to the community will come and ask for how we can.
Well, it comes down to what council's wishes are, I guess. There's the approach I would say, if we are going to lead a process to evaluate it further, I would suggest we look to do something around the lines of a public survey of sorts. The hotel accommodators would be a prime candidate to gather some of that information from, especially if the focus is around providing a service for tourists as well.
Yeah, because you were saying when, if I understand, if it was a park, the people have to have a license, well, like a pot key.
Yep.
And what about when you?
That's where the accommodators become key partners as well. And if it's an asset that they're all, so if we've got numerous, I think we have 400 plus rooms in Pitupaq alone, and if we're able to look at that and say, everybody has this desire, then there's a market that they can actually help contribute to, and maybe a partnership with them on the project as well that allows it to become something that's helped funded and supported. And they have so many key fobs that they can issue
Okay.
to the dog owners to check into the hotel.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Just before we leave the village thing, we have a village commissioner here. Have you had any inquiries about dog parks or okay, thank you. Yep, sorry. Okay, good to know. Thought we'd just check. Go ahead, Councillor Longa.
Thank you, Dan, for all your work on that. It was a great presentation.
I'll acknowledge it was Colleen in the tourism department did most of the legwork for this.
Okay, yeah, it was very good. But yeah, I did have requests from constituents in my area for a dog park in Badek because they come here and they grocery shop and they have dogs and they'd like to see a dog park. So just to let you know, there are some constituents that have been asking for that.
There is another initiative too with, I don't know if the Irving here is on it, but most of the Irvings have adopted putting dog zones as well. So there's little facilities, most in the parking areas of a lot of the big Irving big stops that now provide a fenced in area and dog waste bags and everything else, which is really convenient for traveling.
Thank you. Well, I'm not sure where council wants to go with this. Do we want to see if there's public interest through Dan's department, or we'll perhaps what we'll do, the direction then from council will be to follow up and see what kind of public consultation we can do to determine the interest and whether or not we will take the lead on it or not, or see if there's some partners there that may be interested. So can we leave that with your department?
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll focus on the first phase of that, which is evaluating the community desired impact.
Yeah.
So we'll do a quick survey and understanding that if there's enough need, we'll follow through with additional.
Yes, and I think the other thing I just don't want to leave, because Councillor McLeod brought it up different times, we have pockets of municipal property that may or may not be a consideration, so maybe look at that at the same time, and it could be in Barb's district or Perlis district or Fraser's district or whoever's district.
Yeah.
If
And
the
yeah,
demand
when
is
we look
there.
at the best practices, there's a point that comes into play, and we don't want to lead with that. Most of the municipalities that led with it as a spot ended up falling into the cracks. And
It didn't become the spot. Yeah, no, that's great. No, thank you very much. That'll be the direction of council, and if you're good with that, then thank you for your presentation today.
Appreciate it.
And thank Colleen for providing for the presentation as well.
That's it on for sure.
All right, we're going to move on. We had our recess. We had our 10-minute break. The minutes of February 20th and February 26th, it'll be two separate motions, but they were both circulated to you prior to today's meeting. Start with the minutes, council meetings of February 20th. Were there any errors or omissions in those minutes? If not, we'd like a motion to approve those minutes, please. Moved by the Deputy Warden. We have a seconder, please.
Second.
Second by Councillor Longa. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried. We had a special meeting of council on February 26th. Those minutes were circulated to you. Were there any errors or omissions? Hearing none, we have a motion to accept the minutes of special council meeting held on February 26th.
Yes, I'm up.
Moved by Councillor McLeod, seconded by Councillor McNeil. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion is carried. The CAO's report is going to be provided by the CFO today. That document has also been circulated, so if you want to mention the highlights, I'll turn it over to Alex.
Great, thank you. So just a couple of things to highlight from the report that was sent out, and then a couple of additions to the report since it's been sent out. On April 9th at 9:30 a.m. at the Invery, there's going to be a non-for-profit governance training. Victoria County is sponsoring the program, and the agenda details will be out shortly. It's open for all not-for-profit groups within Victoria County, so just looking to promote that. We will be changing on the water utility bills. You're going to see a change in the near future in terms of the account number. If they're going to have a W in front of them, this is for bank payment purposes. So we're going to have messaging and everything that's going to come out related to this, but just giving an early heads up that everyone's account number related to water will now start with a W. So we'll get the messaging out that, or communications will get the messaging out around that. We have started planning for heavy garbage. The possible date
is May 6th to 16th. Stay tuned for the official announcement, but that is the tentative date that we're looking at right now. Related to our regulatory approvals from Nova Scotia Environment, we did not receive any of the extensions that we were looking regarding the stockpile limits at our Dingwall site. And we need to adhere to those because there are repercussions if we don't in terms of fines and court orders. So just highlighting that. Straight Engineering is going to be surveying the new transfer station location as soon as the snow clears, which maybe is now or very soon. Our electric vehicle evaluation RFP process is proceeding. The notifications, if they haven't been sent out already on who is successful, they will be sent out this week. This is related to the low carbon community funding that was received. There is a microloan program for women in business. A few Victoria County businesses have applied and applications are still open. That's through the partnership. So just highlighting that if you know anyone that might be interested. There's another EMO exercise that's in the planning stages. So there'll be more information coming on that when it's happening. And then two additions to the report since it's been sent out. Our tipping floor at the Bedeck transfer station is going to be cleaned, industrially cleaned. So the tipping floor itself is going to be closed starting next week. So we're encouraging residents, if you have the ability to use curbside pickup, please do. We will have trailers and stuff out there to deal with people that are still coming to the site, but the tipping floor will be closed as it's being cleaned starting next week, and it should take about a week.
Is that what you drive over when you like at the window there?
No, like the actual tipping floor in the building where you bring your garbage to. So the site will be open and we'll have the trailers and stuff out, but just where it's going on, we're trying to minimize the amount of traffic that's happening there.
Okay, so that's where you drive in and there's the trucks dump there?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then just the last thing, the tender is going out this week for the water line extension work in Ganesh. So that closes April 25th. So that'll be posted on the provincial site and on our site.
Thank you for providing that update on the CAO's report. Are there any questions to the items that Alex has mentioned and or any that were in the report that she didn't mention? Go ahead, sir. Councillor McDonald.
Yes, it's more of an explanation, I think, for some of my constituents. With the increase to the water utility from the UARB, could you just kind of in a layman's way explain who dictates that increase or where does that come from?
So the water increase, it's a process where we do a water rate study. So the water rate study looks at all of the costs for the municipal water systems, which we have 4, but they're all operated under one. And then we go through the rate study process and we hired an external consultant to do that work for us. So that was Jerry Eisner and Blaine Rooney. And so they prepare that and based on the costs that we have, it proposes rates and it's on a not-for-profit basis. So the rates are set to cover the costs. And then that is submitted to the UARB. They come back with lots of questions. They come back with a hearing and then they approve the rates to be implemented. So the rate increase that's coming April 1st was approved as part of the rate study that happened a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Yeah. So the whole premise of it is to set rates that cover costs, and it's important to do rate studies on a timely basis so that the utility isn't operating in a deficit, which is part of our issue is that we had a deficit for quite some time. Because rates are increasing, even if it's a bad thing, for for residents, it's covering costs, plus we're slowly improving that deficit along the way.
Thank you for explaining.
That wasn't very short.
You gave a different explanation, so, okay. Well, you got the correct one now, so. Anybody else? Yes, Councillor McLeod.
You were saying April 9th for not-profits in the Inverie?
It was April 9th at 9:30 at the Inverie. Yeah.
Do you have any Facebook, a poster or something that we can? Because I didn't hear that people. Is it part of it?
The not-for-profit governance training. Yeah.
Okay. And then other the micro loan program, I tried to reach Parker, but I don't have any information about that to, forward to the people. So
okay, well,
if somebody can just send me some information and I can
for sure
share it.
Yeah,
because
we can send it to everyone.
Yeah,
great.
Both events. Thanks.
Any other questions or comments in regards to CAO's report this afternoon? We're good. We're going to move on. Thank you. Thank you for providing that. And we're going to move on to district concerns to start with Councillor Longba. Here we go.
I had a request for a deer. Well, I had a request for either a fence like they have in Antigonish for deer and other animals, which I've seen that fence, but I can imagine something like that would be very costly. But they said, or some deer crossing signs. So I thought that probably be more in the budget. To have some deer crossing signs put between Big Hill Road and Bedeck, as there's been several collisions with deer and a lot of sightings of deer along the highway there. I was at the, myself and the warden were both at the climate change meeting a few days ago. And I met a new organization that's been formed in Cape Breton called the Climate Change Task Force. Their website is called the climatechangetaskforce.ca if you want to check them out. And they promote environmental awareness and concrete action to combat climate change through education, advocacy, community mobilization, and investment in local green initiatives. They desire to work collaboratively for a hopeful and environmentally sound future for ourselves and for future generations. So it was great to meet them and glad that they're formed, and I'm sure they're looking for members. I have a Zoom meeting tomorrow with the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities Climate Change Advisory Board at 12 o'clock, and I just wondered if we as a municipality have any questions or messages that we want to send along to the advisory board that I'm meeting with tomorrow. I guess if anyone does, they could send me a message. And I'd also like to request a meeting with Gwen Jarabek to ask about the status of the 2 remaining daycares that were slated for North Smoky, because as in my understanding, there was $900,000 that she applied for and received for 3 daycares. We have 1 daycare in Bedeck, but we don't have the other 2. I just wonder what's the next step or what's the status on that. Then yes, and also like it would be nice to ask her to come in sooner than later because tourist season's coming up and the folks that operate businesses north of Smoky and their staff probably desperately need daycare.
So you probably want to put that in the form of a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to ask Gwen Jarabek to be invited to council as soon as possible to update us on the daycare status.
Okay, do we have a second for that, please? Seconded by Jackie, all in favor? Jackie Organ, Councillor Organ, thank you. Okay.
And last but not least, the Bedeck Bay Road is in bad condition. From Brenda Whitty's driveway to Bembria turnoff, there's 3 culverts collapsed and there's flooding. And there's also runoff coming down McDonald Road and the pavement's badly damaged.
Sure is.
And that's it for District 4.
Thank you. Good report from your district. Councillor Oregon, district concerns, please.
Kind of quiet in District 7. Just getting a few calls about public works, you know, our road repairs and grading and stuff like that when it's going to start. I'll forward an email off to Mr. McDonald. But we're still busy with wharf repairs, the new bridge, and the blasting has started for New Highland Manor because it has scared the bejesus out of me a couple times. But that's it for District 7.
Thank you, Councillor. District number 5. Councillor
Thank you,
Patterson.
Warden. Maybe I shouldn't commit this person to what I'm going to commit them to. But last Friday at our lunch and learn, we had Diane Timmons from Keith Payne's MLA office, and she went through all of the provincial assistance programs and so on, and she did a very thorough job at that. So if anybody is interested in having that presentation, I'm sure if you contacted Diane at Keith's office, she'd be more than willing to share it with you. The old thing keeps coming up and up, you know, people, for example, the municipal tax rebate, right? I didn't know about that. We printed on the tax bill, right? We put it right there, but people don't necessarily read the whole thing. So there's always seems to be some people who get them, you have to give them the message a number of times. And Diane was really good at that. So that's it, Warden. Thank you.
You, sir. Councillor McLeod.
Thank you. I think maybe we can ask her to, you know, to bring us a presentation about all that. If you want to make the motion, because it will be interesting.
To do it here at council.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea. Yeah. Did you want to make that a motion, Fraser, or do you want Councillor McLeod? So just to invite her to do a review of provincial work. Go from there.
Yeah. To make the presentation on government programs.
You have a seconder for that, please?
I was second.
It's second by Councillor McLeod. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion's carried.
Thank you. Just I have transportation. Of course, the roads are getting now out of snow. Just for knowledge, I send this to Steve. Big Bedeg Road, Westside Big Bedeg, Machal Cross, Old Marguerite Road, and Ayansa. So I just put that in an email to him to just make sure we have the maintenance after all the snow.
Okay. Thank you.
And that's it.
Thank you. Deputy Warden.
Thanks, Warden. Just two motions. Excuse me. On the weekend, I don't know if I was aware, but there was a serious accident, a snowmobile accident in the Highlands. Life flight was called, and first responders from Michaelis in the North Shore. And also the big thing that came in was Northeast Marguerite Volunteer Fire Department now have a tracked vehicle, and they've customized it to be able to transport someone that's injured. And it took 2 hours to get there, which is the hard time, but that's the travel time it took. But they were able to transport the person up to the life flight to get on the life flight. But even the life flight pilots and stuff were just totally amazed with this piece of equipment. But as we're seeing a more increasing number of skidoers, I suspect that we're probably going to have more accidents, and I think we have to do something to prepare for it. 2 hours to wait for such a vehicle is a little bit much. We were just lucky this person survived at this time. But I'd like to make a motion that maybe our Tourism and Recreation Department, maybe that Dan could look into the cost and what it would cost to actually provide such a vehicle, a track vehicle, which also has wheels for the summer to do ATVs also. But because of the communication being so bad in the Highlands, the quick response makes a big difference. So we had this type of vehicle. It'd be nice to have one. They have one in Marguerite. It'd be nice to have one on this side here in Michaelis or North Shore that could respond. But again, just like to make a motion that maybe Dan investigate what it would cost, and if there's any possibility working with the fire departments, what would have to be to make that a reality. But I'll make that a motion.
We have a motion. Do we have a seconder for that, please? Seconded by Jackie. All in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded. We're good with that, Dan? Yep.
The second motion, I want to make a motion that $2,000 from the District 6 budget be provided to the English Snowmobile Society. The new trail that they just completed, it's for the winter, has been phenomenal. I mean, at one time there was 80 skidoos at the top of the ski lodge.
Wow.
So the business is unbelievable, but they're looking to build some kind of a warming hut somewhere's like something like the Pig and Whistle they have in the Highlands
Yes.
already, but on this side of the trail.
Yep.
So I'd like to make a motion that $2,000 provided to them in support of that warming hut.
We have a seconder for that motion, please. Seconded by Councillor McDonald. All in favor?
Right.
Contrary minded, motion's carried.
And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Councillor McNeil.
Second, I'd like to make a motion that a street light be put at the intersection of Trans Canada Highway and Neil Shore Road. It's a power. The safety issue. I'll send that to you.
And it meets the requirements of, yeah. We have a seconder for that. Second by the deputy warden. All in favor? Contrary minded, motion's carried. That's it. Councillor McDonald.
Yes, thank you, Warden. Just same as Councillor McNeil said, some public works issues, but I've sent them off to Steve McDonald. The big thing is wondering if that piece of the Cabot Trail is going to be starting this spring. I haven't really had any confirmation that it was, just hearsay, which has been the last 6 years of the same thing over and over. I was in conversation with a gentleman from Capstick who would like to get together and have a meeting with Keith Bain and Steve McDonald in regards to the road conditions from the turnoff of Bay St. Lawrence Road down to Capstick and the conditions that the road and the state that some of the culverts and everything are in. So I'll reach out to them in for that. I'm just wondering, the other thing is, did we or someone do a request to Nova Scotia Power to come to council for presentation, and has there been any follow-up on that from NSP?
I think one of their last meetings, it was recommended we did not, did
not have them.
That was discussion at the time. You weren't at the meeting, but I mean, if
They provided a letter stating that answered our questions, and they've put staff in place to increase or improve their response. So we said what we would do is wait to see if it has an effect, and if it doesn't, then we'd call them back in.
Yes, on just one thing on Nova Scotia Power, do you realize there are no linesmen north of Smoky?
Seriously,
No,
did not know that.
from Shetty County.
We only have contractors in the area, right?
It's because they can't get them, or is it?
They're looking for a rate increase, I believe, in the province, Nova Scotia Power. But that's it, Warden, for District 8.
Well, thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that. District number 3, the Deck Academy won the mixed curling provincial tournament on the weekend, so we'd just like to acknowledge them in the minutes and maybe send a note to the school, just offering our congratulations to them. Well done. Just number 2, just a general comment. We've had a couple of very busy weekends in Bedeck for the last 4 or 5 weeks, and I just want to acknowledge the businesses that stayed open all winter, providing services to the visitors came here. Lots of comments about having some amenities available, which we usually hear the others. So just want to acknowledge the businesses that, and we appreciate the fact that they do stay open all winter and they face those challenges that go with the operation in the winter. But with that, just want to reference them in the minutes this afternoon. The other issue that I have, and I hate to sound like but the coastal protection, we had said all along that we were supportive of those regulations, with the exception that we felt the administration and the enforcement should remain with the province. The province has now decided they're not going to have anything to do with other than provide support. So I think we just should send a note to the Minister of Environment saying we're disappointed that they didn't proceed with the coastal protection, and that just reinforce our message that we were supportive of it, particularly in regards to the administrative and the regular, or the enforcement. We have spoken several times that we were not supporting those regulations as written, based on the lack of again, I hate to sound repetitive, the lack of enforcement and the lack of administration by the province. Now there's going to be any one of a number of different types of regulations depending on what municipality you live in, where if it would have been a provincial legislation as they originally agreed to, it would have been uniform across the province. It's not going to happen that way. So anyway, I'd like to make a motion that we send a note to that.
Motion on the floor is seconder for that motion. Second by Councillor McNeil. All in favor? Country moaned it.
And I think we did before, and correct me if I'm wrong, but did we not ask for a representative of the Department of Environment to come? Well, perhaps we can remind them that we've had a request in and they can come and explain their role with safeguarding our coastal properties. That's it for me. Thank you, sir. We're going to move on to motions. So we have a couple that we are required to do. We went through a municipal grant recommendation report that was presented to council, and we just need a motion that we are going to accept and approve the municipal grant recommendation report.
Motion?
Moved by Councillor McLeod. We have a second?
Yeah, I just have a question. The deadline is listed as March 31st, right?
Yeah.
But that's the holiday weekend. So are we going to, it has to be in Steph's desk or in that email by the end of day on the 31st?
Correct.
To be on time.
Yes.
Midnight.
Okay, thanks.
Midnight on the 31st.
Yes.
So is there anything you wanted to add to that? We just need a second. There's nothing you want to comment. I just wanted to check with Alex. So it's been moved by Councillor McLeod. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Councillor Longville. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion's carried. We had a request to declare today actually as Purple Day for Epilepsy. So we just would like to have a motion that we so we just need a motion to declare. Moved by the Deputy Warden, second by Councillor McNeil. All in favor? Contrary minded? There is also a resolution for previous clerks pension plan. Sorry, thank you. I guess I just have to, was this circulated or do you want me to read it? You want me to read it or are you okay with it? It'll be public record anyway, so we need to. I hereby certify the foregoing as a true and accurate copy of the resolution of the municipality of County Victoria and duly and validly passed, and said resolution now is in full effect, dated the 26th day of March 2024. So we need a motion to accept that resolution with regard to the municipal clerk pension plan. Moved by the Deputy Warden, seconded by
Second.
Councillor McLeod. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion's carried. I will sign that and will be. The Eastern District Planning Commission has the requesting approval of the following appointments. This will require a motion of council. Building inspectors David McKenzie and Sean Donovan. Our alternates Harry Martell, Jonathan Martin, Andre Sampson, and Luke Ross. Development Officer Wanda Ryan. Alternate John Bain, Andrew Jones, Kristen Nutzoff, and Michaela Tate. Fire inspection David McKenzie. Alternates A. Sampson, L. Ross, S. Donovan, H. Martell, and J. Martin. Dangerous unsightly premises Administrator Sean Donovan and John Bain. Alternate Luke Ross, David McKenzie, and Andre Sampson. Special Constable Building Fire Codes and Dangerous unsightly land use bylaw Sean Donovan and Jonathan Martin. So we need a motion to approve those appointments. Moved by Councillor McNeil, seconded by Councillor McDonald. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion's carried. We'll advise the Planning Commission we approve those. Any correspondence? Most has been sent out to you.
One more, Warden.
Sorry. What person? Fraser. I'm sorry, Fraser wasn't on my list. So
Thank you very much, Warden. We had a discussion with MP Batiste earlier, so it's nothing really new. I think everyone got a copy of the resolution, and it's kind of a template resolution they've sent out. Basically, the whereases, you can read those. There's nothing, just the gas tax fund provides more than 2.4 billion in annual capital funding directly to municipalities through a predictable allocation mechanism. And as I mentioned before, the 10-year agreement is either up or going to be up soon. Some provinces want the money. Like the money comes federally now, it goes to the province first, and then the province decides to distribute it. And as MP Batiste mentioned, it's predictable, you can plan on it and so on and so forth. So we want to protect that. And we also want to encourage discussions on what is known as the Municipal Growth Framework, which would allow for other sources of revenue for municipalities. And I had mentioned too earlier, part of the provincial sales tax, like in Saskatchewan, or the one on the radio this morning talking about portion of the income tax. Again, that would give us more predictable funding over the years. So just the resolution that resolves the federal government work with agreement signatories and municipalities to maintain the CCBF, formerly known as the gas tax, as a source of direct, predictable, long-term funding for local infrastructure priorities. Resolved that the federal government in budget 2024 in the next generation of infrastructure programs, and as MP Batiste mentioned this morning, the money's all gone now. There's nothing for infrastructure at the present moment. Hopefully the new budget will have something, including a new program for water and wastewater infrastructure. In other words, a dedicated program for just water and wastewater, which we would love to see, right? And an increase of disaster mitigation and adaptation fund. And be it further resolved, the third one, that the federal government convene provinces, territories, and municipalities to negotiate a municipal growth framework to modernize the way that municipalities are funded. So I would like to move that resolution. Gordon?
You heard the resolution, you heard the motion. Do we have a seconder for? Second by Councillor Longo, all in favor? Contrary minded?
Thank you.
Motion's carried. Thank you for bringing that forward, Fraser, and sorry for not having it on my list.
Steph, I don't know who to send it to yet. We'll find out. I believe it's the minister, but I don't have an exact email address or anything yet. So as soon as I get that, I'll forward that to you. Okay, thank you.
Good. Okay, we're going to move on. Most correspondence has been sent to you. There's nothing new to bring forward to council. Any questions about the correspondence you received since the last meeting? We're good to go. Any committee reports this afternoon? Thank you.
The advisory committee that was set up by the Nova Scotia Federation of Municipalities. It's for municipalities to voice their concerns. Like the advisory committee does nothing unless they get, questions or concerns. But I'm sure at this meeting, it's going to be the Coastal Protection Act is going to be the topic for conversation. So just wanted to add that if anyone has anything from the county that they want to send along.
I don't know about anybody else, but I expressed my thoughts on it that we're disappointed they're not being. All right. Any questions from the public? You in the back, sir, did you have anything you wanted to add? Oh, I thought you might, so. For those of you who may not know, this is former Councillor Apple Crane. Welcome to council, sir, and thanks for attending today. And what is on your mind today?
Thank you very much. I won't be long because I know you had a long day. I'm sure you're all aware of the proposed zoning regulations for Victoria County and the scope of those regulations. We are a small community surrounded by large blocks of land that we are unable to use, whether it be crown land, actually, or just topography. We are a county that's squeezed between the Highlands and the sea. And although people think we have lots of land, we don't. We are a community of 6,700 people. 1,000 of those in Badek, more or less, are not involved in the zoning probably 700 in Wagamamacook that are not involved in this zoning proposal. So we're talking about 5,000 people. We're proposing a very large and complicated zoning policy. We're proposing 19 zones, 8 or 9 hamlets, depending how you look at it. There's 95 pages of policy, 132 pages of regulations. You know, we get along for a long time without zoning, and for the most part, we get along relatively well, I think. If you eliminated Facebook, we probably get along quite a bit better. So these hamlets, for example, I mean, the zones all have regulations to follow them. Hamlets as well. And the hamlets have permitted uses with conditions, permitted uses with site plan approvals, permitted uses by development agreement, minimum lot size for all those. By development agreement. Those minimum lot uses, every zone has minimum size, setbacks from boundaries, heights of buildings. It is very complicated. I don't know how many people understand it. I know I've gone over it numerous times, and there's lots of questions I have. I think in this policy, by the draft documents come out 6 weeks ago. People are to reply by the end of this week. There's been no public meetings in my districts, in Middle River, Big Badek. Very few public meetings. Well, I think there's only one public meeting in Victoria County since the draft regulations have come out. And I know there's 2. Paul had one there that wasn't well advertised, but it was appreciated. But there's a lot of people don't know what's going on. There's all kinds of things in there that are going to affect people. That's going to affect people for the next 50 years. You know, you get things like no habitation in trailers. Well, I lived in a trailer for 8 years and with 3 kids. We were quite comfortable, quite happy, quite warm. What's wrong with a trailer? I mean, they also have the same thing. No car, no truck bodies, or no. What's the other term they use? And anyway, They don't want RVs, I understand, and I'm not sure why they don't have RVs. If you look at the paper today, in the Chronicle, the Cape Breton Post I read, they had quite a story on a fellow in Halifax who wants to live in his RV, and he wants a park to live in his RV. He doesn't have, there's no other options. So there's nothing wrong with living in RVs. So the county, apparently the Halifax municipality is considering moving that stipulation where you can't live in RVs. We're in a housing crisis, not only worldwide, but in Victoria County. So I think that no habitation in trailers should be removed. I mean, you have old Uncle Fred coming back from Alberta. He had to leave because of, family difficulties, and he wants to live back in the back of your house in an RV. Well, maybe he should be allowed to live in the back of your house in an RV. It's certainly better than having them in the house. And another one, water courses. I know Bruce and I have some different views on water courses and buffer zones and stuff like that. But what's proposed is water courses. That's not just shoreline. You're talking about rivers, brooks, and streams, and how close you can build to them. So a 50-foot buffer is, as far as I can understand, applies to streams. So we have a lot of water courses in Victoria County. If somebody wants to build a garage or a woodshed, they're going to have to build back 50 feet, I presume, from these buildings. Again, we live in a community that basically our housing, we're living between the road and the water, or maybe from the road back 500 feet. And water courses are a big part of that. As a developer, I am a land developer. I have no problem with the 50-foot buffer on new lots. I think that's proper. If you're building a new lot, everybody now knows the problems what we should be worried about. I mean, this is really a fairly recent thing where people are saying, well, you got to move back from the water. So for new developments, I have no problem with the 50-foot buffer and the 8-foot elevation. I do have a problem with existing lots. There's existing lots that have been here for 100, 100 years, actually. People want to build on them. They've been paying taxes on them for years. They still want to build on them. I think they should be allowed to encouraged certainly to come back 50 feet, but if that's not possible, then maybe they should be allowed to build up the land so they can get the 8-foot elevation, or maybe build a breakwater or cribbing or rocking the shoreline so that the erosion is stopped. So for existing lots, I think there's got to be something in there to protect existing lot owners. There's a bunch of other things in it, and I won't go through them all because I have a thing I'm going to present. I'll mail it all to you, but I'm going to present for Friday. But it doesn't cover it, all the concerns I have for sure. Flag lots, for example, they want to eliminate flag lots. Well, I don't know why. What's the societal issue the flag lots create? I have no idea. A flag lot has a narrow spot on the road, and then it opens up on out. So you often want to build a flag lot where people, where you don't want to build a proposed load. Say you got 3 lots, and you don't want to make a proposed public or private road into service those lots. You might put, 3 flags. So the flag is the pole, and then the big lot gets bigger. I don't see anything wrong with that. People have their own driveways. It's better than private roads, and that you don't get into the issue of who's going to maintain it, who's going to clean the garbage on it, that sort of thing. So flag lots eliminate a lot of those problems. The other thing about flag lots is in Victoria County, in much of rural Nova Scotia, we have a lot of twisty, hilly, crooked roads. So you get an access for a property onto the road where you can create a driveway that highways will approve. These highways require certain sightline distances for a driveway. So you often, a property that you might have that's 700 feet wide, there may be only one spot on there where you can get a driveway that has a sightline distance because of the nature of the topography. And again, somebody tell me what's wrong with, who cares whether it's a flag lot? I don't understand. Anyway, I won't go over it. Petersbrook water source. I noticed they're keeping Petersbrook water source there. Why? The village of Bedek has gone to a new system. If they ever need to go back to Petersbrook, I suspect they won't, and if they do, it's going to take them, I'm sure, 4 months to reinstall the pumps. And I walked that line out to the Petersbrook. It's in bad shape. It's broken in places. There's a lot of work required to get, if they should ever have to do that. So if they should ever have to do it, they can reinstitute the water zone. But this is a large water zone. And why should you foster that on residents of Big Bedek? 6 lots maximum agriculture zones. Agriculture zones are a big problem. We have a lot of agricultural land, especially Middle River, Big Bedek, from here to Waikagama, Iona area. And those 6 lots maximum really hinders development. If that condition was in place, McLeod Point subdivision, Neil Shore subdivision, Bucklaw subdivision, Abershore subdivision in Inverness, a lot of those subdivisions would never be built. Now, you may not like development along the shoreline, but it pays the taxes. There's lots of money coming out of those developments. So 6 lots maximum agriculture zones. In Nova Scotia, according to Nova Scotia Federation of Agriculture, there are 40 farms in Victoria County. Only 4 of those make over 50,000 a year. We don't have an agriculture industry in Victoria County. So why are we setting all this land aside for an agriculture industry when it's highly unlikely that we're going to have an agriculture industry in the near future? A lot of that agriculture designation came from a land study that was done 60 years ago or so, where they classified lands and classified 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's no one in Nova Scotia. There's 2, 3, and 4. But they didn't, that soil classification, as I understand it, doesn't take into consideration microclimates. So a category 3 soil in in Naples Royal, Naples Valley, is much more productive than the Category 3 soil in Cape Breton. We're in microclimates, which were further north. We have frost earlier, and proof is in the pudding. There's no agriculture here. There's no culture of agriculture here. And I'm sorry if I offend anybody that makes a living from agriculture, but for the most part, there is no agriculture. So, again, quickly, lands for public purposes, dedicated parklands, if you're doing a subdivision for public purposes. So that means any subdivision that's a subdivision. If you survey a lot off for your daughter to build a house, that's a subdivision. So are you going to require a public dedication of lands for that? The other thing is, if you dedicate lands to the public, if I build a subdivision and I put a private road in, because there's not going to be any public roads anymore, the county wants to get out of them. Provinces are already out of it. So if you say there's no public roads anymore except in hamlets, that's rather serious. You know, no public roads anymore. So we're stuck with what we got. So if there's no public roads into a new subdivision, you have a private road in there, and you're going to dedicate land in there for maybe a boat launch. So who's going to look after that public land? Who's going to keep people from camping on it? Who's going to clean it up? Does the county want to take that over? Is the county willing to take that over? I don't know. Now there's foolish stuff. Flat roofs. Flat roofs, you can't have flat roofs in Main Street. Well, what's wrong with a flat roof? I mean, Royal Bank over here looks okay to me. I presume it's an aesthetic thing, but I have no problem with flat roofs. Is that something we really need in a subdivision bylaw? Anyway, that's it. Final thing is beware of the wisdom of the day, because we got a lot of wisdoms of the day, and some of them are trying to get themselves into a zoning bylaw. So we need meetings. You can't have this go to the public and not have more meetings, because like I say, it's been out six weeks. 98% of the people don't know much about it. And I know you call a meeting and nobody comes, but I think you'd be criticized if you don't call any meetings, because once they find out what this does, there's a lot of people going to have concerns. That's it. Like all I get to say. I have a more detailed thing which I'll send around to.
Yep, thank you. And look, one of the reasons why we posted that, we want feedback, we need feedback. Thank you for providing feedback.
My worry is you're not going to get enough feedback.
Yeah.
People don't know about it. And then the first reading is gone, and people say, well, it's too late now. And this stupid stuff is, some of it's stupid. Like, I'm not opposed to zoning. It's just some of it just makes no sense for a population of 5,000 people.
Yeah, and I know that people have it, and I can just tell you from being in a meeting not very long ago, people saying it was the wild, wild west because there is no zoning. So, I mean, I'm not sure if they read the document, you know, but that's some of the impression out there as well. Deputy Warden.
Excellent points, I agree with you. You are sending them into the upland, though. You're sending your comments in.
Yeah.
Because I've talked to a number of people, and there's a number of people that do have concerns with it. Yeah, there is a number of people that do have concerns with it and stuff, and I totally asked them to send them in to make sure Upland has them. Hopefully, once they take those comments, they'll remove or change, and then we'll have a look at the document. But that's why I highly recommend you send all those points in, and we go from there. But I'm interested in seeing what the results are, how they take the comments, and how they revise the document and see what product comes out. Because if the people that have talked to me put their complaints in enough, I'm hoping they're going to be removed or changed and the new document will be better. But again, it depends how many people put it in, right? So I do appreciate you putting your comments in, and I know you're very knowledgeable on that stuff, but thanks very much.
Anybody else?
Yeah, just thank you, Warden. Just following up from Deputy Warden Doffney, I'm kind of waiting to see too what happens after the 31st. But I think former Councillor Grant has a very valid point. And maybe this is not fair, but people think what they want to think. They look at the local improvement charge, the way that was handled, and they say, oh no, are they doing that again? My question, I guess, for information, will be a bylaw, so we'll have to go through the bylaw process in the first reading and so on. That's one protection, I think. But I've gotten questions exactly not as detailed as Ethel's, but one question was why, and you asked at the end, and you say it's a provincial mandate, and then the person will say, well, so what? The provincial government make all kinds of mandates sometimes. The other one I was copied on emails where people wanted to change their designation, and apparently their designation is going to be changed because they're operating a small business and so on. The third one goes back to the campground on the Black Rock Road again, and a petition is being circulated as we speak about that. So there are lots of questions. There are things. I didn't know some of the details that Athol pointed out, and I think we should look at it very carefully. Like that gentleman, I saw that news item, Athol, last night. That's the only place he can afford to live, is in his RV. So, I mean, what are you going to do? Put them out on the, have more homeless people now because you can't live in an RV? If it's an unsightly premises, then that's handled under a different aspect of it. But just to ban them totally, I don't think makes a lot of sense. So anyway, there are a lot of questions. I think we'll have to wait and see what comes out of it. It does have to go through the bylaw process, and if we have questions, and they're very good at Uplands to reply back to people and get the information back to people. So I'll give them credit for that. With the meetings, just want to finish, Bruce. I thought to have a meeting in Bulladry, the first round of consultations, which was 2 years ago now, probably a year and a half ago. 12 people showed up, which wasn't a bad crowd. They wouldn't budge on having a second meeting on Bulladry. I think it was in English Town, Barb, you had, right? You can't expect people to travel that distance for something like that. And especially since the first meeting was a success, I couldn't believe that they wouldn't come up with the second one. So anyway, there's lots to discuss and lots to think about. Thanks.
So, and to your point, that's the deadline for feedback.
That's my understanding.
Yeah, and it's not the deadline that it comes in effect the day after. So.
Excuse me. Oh, sorry. I agree with Athol that, and I brought it to council before, that I think there should be more meetings because it's such a huge impact on all of Victoria County, and people don't realize it until it's going to happen. And I don't think that there's an excuse that they shouldn't have another round of meetings in the different districts to answer questions of people that have taken the time to read it and have concerns, because it is like it's going to this flat roof thing. I mean, there's lots of places around here that have, I guess they're grandfathered in because they're already flat, but there's just a lot of issues that people have with it, and I think that there should be that we should ask for more public meetings.
It's funny with flat loose. I gather it's an aesthetic point of view. We want to keep the character of the community, but in a community of Victoria County where most of the properties front on the water or overlook the water, wouldn't the flat roofs on the roofs be much more better for the community, where the people behind could still retain their view? So there's a good argument to be made that everybody should have a flat roof. But well, at the very least, don't put it in the zoning thing.
So
just Fraser, I just want to reply. One thing, Fraser, on Bulladry Island, they very little, probably less than 20 acres shown as agriculture. Well, Bulladry Island to me was always supposed to be a good farming area. So how did it escape being? No, but it never made this cut that they're using. The other thing, the other item I wanted to mention was tiny homes. There's a lot of people now building or looking at building tiny homes and stuff. And, you know, a lot of them would be on wheels. What's wrong with that? Go ahead. Sorry, Bruce.
No, I'm just in the interest of time, Councillor McNeil. Everybody gets a kick at the game.
Round of meetings. We had a meeting in the Legion I own, and I think there was 3 people there.
Yeah.
Then there was second round meetings. We had another meeting in Iona in 2021. There was 15 showed up at that, 15 or 16 people showed up. At that. Then after that, there was a number of concerns about issues, and they put a pause on it. And then when it started up, I don't think anybody knew it started. And that was the difficulty. Like even, well, 6 weeks ago, I guess it started up again, from my knowledge. And we never heard anything as council. So,
So
there's a disconnect there between upland and municipalities that are paying this. They're not letting us know.
So I would say this, perhaps, let us go back and talk to Upland. I mean, the deadline is the deadline. The difficulty that I have is, and it's been identified, is that we could have more community meetings, but I don't know if it's going to generate more interest. I just don't know. But there's a disconnect somewhere, and somehow we have to have Upland perhaps do a better job of advertising and hosting but I don't know, Athol, if that's going to drive somebody to take a look at the actual document and have some interest and bring back.
I don't either, Bruce, and I'm fearfully, I think maybe not. But I think Upland should come out at the very beginning and talk to builders, people who are building places. See what they think. You know, show them what they're talking about. You know, you need a no more than 12 feet on a hamlet or something. And talk to builders. Does that make any sense? Have been developing land since 25 years in Victoria. Nobody ever called me up and said, "What do you think about some of these, Athol?" Well, maybe they should have.
Yes.
You know, even engineering, even like you talk about shoreline protection. Well, I think we're in a better position in shoreline protection now because the government, up until recently, people weren't that concerned about it. I don't think Victoria County, we had a whole lot of houses washing away. And I know from my experience recently, selling properties, people are very, very aware now, and they're not building close to the shore. If they are building close to the shore, they're making putting some significant money in to make sure the shore doesn't wash away, that the building stays. So I think in some ways, the climate change issue has got attention. So I'm not sure we need to, I kind of agree with Houston, if you don't mind me saying so. I kind of think if they put that information out there and people build to those standards or build so that they're shoreline protected, then does it make that much difference to the community in general? I mean, if it's still a problem, insurance companies will take care of it. They will raise the rates if you're building in those zones, they'll raise the rates so much that you won't build for that reason. And if you protect the shoreline, I always get a laugh at coastal zone protection because it's not protection to call. It's move back. Yeah. There's no protection of it, right? They don't talk about protection.
But
move back.
To your point, and I would say to you that the lack of regulations doesn't affect people that are concerned about doing the right thing. The regulations should be there for people that have the intent not to follow any regulations. And there are people that they want to build as close as they can to the coastline. And
yeah, I just haven't seen that. In my lots that I've been selling, most properties, they build well back from the water. In fact, I can't think of any that I've sold where that I would walk by and say, well, you're building too close to the water. Maybe there is some, I don't know.
I don't know. I drove by one the other day and it was, very close to the water, but that was the intent of.
So was it a new lot or an existing lot?
Yeah, it's relatively new. It is new. Yeah, but I mean, you're going to get that.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing there to prevent them from not building close because of the way the regulations are now. And that was our point about coastal regulation or the coastal protection, that if it's your regulation, you enforce it and it's consistent across the province, but that's not enough.
There's a whole bunch of other people, though. A few people that had these lots for years and they want to build on it. And they're willing to put the money in to make sure. I mean, you look down the states that build them on posts.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
You
Yeah.
look after a hurricane goes through, those houses are still there.
Yeah.
The ones in a post. Well, somebody willing to do that, wants to be close to the water and to put the money in to make their house secure. Well, more power to them.
It's their investment. Yeah. So
Anyway,
That wasn't on there. But we were told to do it, but the provincial document, and now in this balance, I get no swap.
you were told to do it, but in the end, it's you voted in.
Yeah.
So you have to own it.
Yeah.
And if there's issues there that disturb you, then you can make the restrictions as minimal as possible, right? You can still have zoning, but make them less. But you care if the building's 12 foot high or 13 feet high? Do we care? Really?
Councillor McLeod.
Just for clarification about the meetings, when they start, they choose only 3 or 4 districts. I did ask for my district. They say it was not in the budget, and eventually they asked, something, I think storms and everything cancel and everything disappear, and they go back again and they told me, if you hear somebody, we can meet each other. But no, it wasn't like a public meeting. So, but so was, I don't know, but just for clarification, yes, it should be the meeting in each district, not just a few of them.
So we are closing the chapter on the feedback. So thank you for the discussion today. Seriously, I think it gives us a different perspective.
Thank you for entertaining me.
So I would say this to you just to sum up, is that once that feedback, yours and everybody, whoever else is provided, we're going to have a chance to review that with Upland. And then I think the discussion will be had whether or not the feedback was suffice to move forward or not. And maybe it will result in more consultation with the community. Maybe it won't, I don't know, but we have to wait and see the feedback that we receive.
Yeah, I think in particular, some of the hamlets, particularly down north, you have very little land, as from what I can see there. When you make, even in Englishtown, it's going to be a hamlet, but it only goes back, I don't know, it looks like about, it doesn't tell you, it looks like 500 feet from the water. Well, what if somebody wants to do a subdivision up behind that? Well, they can't put a private road in because you're not allowed private roads on hamlets. So you can't put a private road in to get to that back part. Same being an ish, same as East Harbor. There's not.
Well, thank you for your.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, is there anything else to come to council tonight? No questions from the public? We have a motion to adjourn. Just before we do, the next committee, the whole meeting is April 15th. Meeting at 2:00 in the afternoon on the 15th.
Bring a cake.
Budget will be that day, the highlight of the year, of course. And time will be determined. And our next council meeting will be April 23rd at 2 p.m. We have a motion to adjourn. Moved by Councillor McNeil. On favor? Contrary minded? We are adjourned.